Okay, recall that a polynomial function of degree n can have at most n real roots. Real roots can be rational or irrational, and rational zeros are those that can be written in the form of a fraction. The rational zero theorem can be used to determine all possible zeros of a polynomial function. So, if the function has integer coefficients, then every rational zero of the function has the following form. P over Q, where P is the factors of the constant and Q is the leading coefficient. So this is how this works. I want to list all the possible factors for this polynomial. So I have to label my P and my Q. So here's my P and here's my Q. So what's the number in front of x to the third? 1. So P over Q. I want the factors of 2. So what are the factors of 2? 2 and 1. So, and it can be either a positive or a negative. So we get plus or minus 1 and plus or minus 2. And the factors of 1 are plus or minus 1. So all of my possible factors are determined by dividing. So 1 divided by 1 is 1, and 2 divided by 1 is... So all of the factors are either plus or minus 1 or plus or minus 2 for that polynomial. Okay? So for number 2, here's my P, and my Q again is 1. So I want P over Q. So what are the factors of 18? 1, 2, 3, 6, 9, and 18. And the factors of 1 are plus or minus 1. So the possibles, this time are the same as all the P's, right? I'm just dividing by 1 all the way down the line. So I'm going to get plus or minus 1, 2, 3, 6, 9, or 18. So if I do number 3, this is my P, and here's my Q. And again, it's P over Q. So the factors of 1 are just 1, and the factors of 4 are plus or minus 1, 2, and 4. So for possible solutions, or zeros, I get 1 divided by 1 is 1, and then I get 1 divided by 2, and then 1 divided by 4. So how do I get 1/2? So to get this, it would be x plus 1 or x minus 1. How do I get 1/2? What would be in the parentheses to get 1/2? 2x plus 1, right? If I subtract the 1, I get a negative and divide by 2. So it's either 2x plus 1 or 2x minus 1. And then how would I get the 1/4? 4x minus 1 and 4x plus 1. Okay? All right. So, do y'all need to do another one, or do y'all get this? You get it? Okay. So let me show you how we're going to use this. So yesterday we had a checkbox, like you could pick, and we synthetically divided and we found out which ones were factors and which ones weren't. Well, now I just want to know what are the factors. And I gave you the polynomial, but there's no checkbox. So you have to figure out, you have to come up with your own factors. So the first thing we're going to do is list the possibles. So if I do P divided by Q, what do I get for my possibles? I'm going to get all the factors of 20, correct? So go ahead and list those. There's several of them. Okay, so those are all of our possible zeros. So what makes something a zero? What's going to make it a zero? If I synthetically divide, what's left over if it's a zero? Nothing, right? We get no remainder. So out of all of these numbers, pick one, and we'll synthetically divide and see if it's a factor. What did you say? Well, pick one. I mean, you got to start somewhere. One. Let's start with one. Okay, so if I pick one, and we started with one, there we go. Whew. Whew. 1 times negative 20 was hard. It's a hard fact to remember. So I got none. I got 0 for a remainder, which means that x plus 1 is a factor. So that starts as one of the factors. So now, if this started as x to the third, what is this now? X squared plus x minus 20. And can you factor that? You can. So luckily we can, so that's good. So we get negative 20 and 1. So my factors would be, yes, so 5 and minus 4. So I'm going to have, so the x's would equal negative 1, negative 5, and 4. Okay, so now for the next one, where should we start? So we have to come up with the possibles. So it's going to be 18 divided by 1. Those are the possibles. So I'm going to have plus or minus 1, 2, 3, 6, 9, and 18. Where do you think we should start? Okay, if we start with 1. Did 1 work? All right, so what should we try next? 2? You can. How about the negative of 1? We did positive, it didn't work. Maybe the negative would work. You want to do negative 1 or 2? What do you want to do? I think negative 1's a good choice. So, did it work? Yes. So x minus 1 is going to be one of my choices. So this was x to the fourth, so this one is x to the third so there's 4 factors. What's the only way we know how to factor with 4 factors? So if I divide by x squared, and the second one I'm going to divide by minus 9. So I'm going to get x squared times x plus 2 minus 9 times x plus 2. So this is what I got. So the x plus 2 can go up here, correct? Because that's going to be one of my zeros. But what do I do to x squared minus 9? So those go here. So my zeros are 1, negative 2, and plus or minus 3. And are all of those possibles? Yes. So just a couple hints, like out of all of these, like the numbers are small, right? Usually they're small numbers. So somebody said try 18. Like normally 18 would not, normally you start on the small end and go this way, okay? Okay, let's do number 10. Number 10. Okay, so list the possibles. So what should we start with? 1. Woohoo! So 1 worked. So I get x plus 1. So now, everybody watch for just a second. Watch what happens. So I have x to the fourth here, right? So this is going to be what? X to the third minus what? I know, faster. So I have x to the third minus 12x plus 16. Does that factor, guys? It doesn't. And I don't have 4 terms. So yesterday, when I told you you have to take this and test it again, this is why. So when it doesn't factor, now I'm going to use this line, and I have to test another factor. So I'm going to use 1, 0, and let's test, what do you think? Okay. So does that one work? So the x plus 2 works. And so if this was x to the third, what's this now? So I have x squared plus 2x minus 8. Does that factor? Yes. So I get 4 and negative 2. So my zeros So listen, when you do this, you synthetic divide. Check and see if it factors. If it doesn't factor, you have to synthetic divide again. And when you do that, then check, does this factor? Yes. So then I'm done synthetic dividing and I can factor. So you have to go until you get all the factors. Because there's 2 of them. Any other questions? No.